Now that we are going to be getting commander swaps in Rise of Kingdoms going into 2025, today we are going over some of the commanders that you should be looking into swapping when we get this in game. If you guys are new here, this is Gainz Gaming. I'm a sponsored content creator with Rise of Kingdoms, so if you have not seen me before, make sure you drop a subscribe if you enjoy today's video. Now let's jump right into it. First of all, I have made a ton of different lists on the best commanders in the game. If you've not seen those before, I would highly recommend checking them out. But today I'm talking about commanders that maybe you've invested in KVK2 way earlier when you're playing the game that are no longer really necessary. They're no longer good in Season of Conquest. And now you're like, okay, I can't even use this commander. So what can I switch this commander to? What meta commander should I put this into? Now, first, I'm going to give a couple different commanders that people have invested into in the last couple of years that maybe they are not using anymore, and they want to switch that out for something that's going to be a lot better. Now, in Season of Conquest, you're going to get one swap, so you really have to decide what commander you are looking to switch out that you are never going to use again. Now, one of the most popular ones I have heard is YSG. However, I do not think that this would be a good idea because if you do swap out YSG, you are losing out one chaining march, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it does add up if you are somebody that chains. Now, if you are somebody that does not do barb chaining, then for sure you could switch out YSG. However, the other caveat I want you to think about is bastion skills. Sometimes in KVK, you get his 4th skill dealing 50% more skill damage. Sometimes you get his 2nd skill where you gain 100 rage, you gain 100% bonus to archer attack. Like, these add up a lot. These are important. And so I would highly recommend to be very wary about some of these commanders that have insanely good bastion skills that you are going to be using in future KVKs. If you lose out on 30% skill damage because you decided that you didn't want to use YSG anymore, I mean, if that's the only commander you can switch out, that's one thing, but I don't think that's a very good idea. Another commander that I'm more likely to do is Boudica. Boudica Prime is a commander that I've been very outspoken about regretting investing into because she's not really going to be in any bastions. At least I have never seen her in a bastion. Maybe in the future she will be, but she's a commander that I really just don't want to use anymore. I feel like I never really did that well with her in Season of Conquest. Like, whenever she got targeted, she just melted in 2 seconds, and the trade was, even at best, horrible all the time. So Boudica is one option that I'm highly considering because I am planning on running a 2nd Archer March. And so that's going to be my 6th March, and I don't really want to be using Boudica. And I was thinking about investing into the new Archer Commander. That was actually my plan. But after thinking more about it, I mean, I really just don't want to be filling up my hospital as much as she is going to be doing. Do I think she's a great commander? Yes. But do I really want to be filling up my hospital this much, especially when I'm going to get destroyed in Season of Conquest? Not really. So part of me doesn't really want to invest into Shajar anymore unless I see that she is just so insanely good. I know we have a couple big KVKs going on right now, so I'm still looking at some reports to see what is working the best. But another option I've been thinking about is Ashurbanipal. Now, Ashurbanipal, I did win a couple Mighty Governors with him, so I have 48 heads to put into him. I haven't done anything with his skills yet, but he is a commander that I am very interested in using because he does have 5 target AoE, which is very nice. You know, his 2nd skill, you get some extra march speed, which with archers is fantastic. You get skill damage bonus, you get normal damage reduction, you get stacks for some skill damage, and his expertise is great as well. So he is a commander I am very interested in looking into and switching out my Boudica for Ashurbanipal. Now, speaking of archers that people have invested into, another very common one is Edward of Woodstock, otherwise known as Banana Helmet. He is a commander that a lot of people invested into in KVK2. You can see I have him at 4411. I used him a little bit in KVK2, but I was free to play, didn't really know what I was doing back then, so I have him at 4411. So he is a commander that some people did invest into, and they, I'm sure, are very happy to switch him out for something better. So he is definitely going to be a top commander that people are going to be looking into. 2 other ones, I think it's funny that Archer is going to be a very popular one to swap out. 2 other ones are going to be Nebu. I do believe Nebu is still good. I don't think that he's a top priority to switch out, but Ramses, in my opinion, is going to be one that people will want to swap out because he just really isn't that great. I don't know what I was doing back then, but I was basically just max spinning every single wheel that came out for every commander. It was so dumb. I can't even, like, I don't want to think about how many gems I've wasted doing that over the course of my time playing Rise of Kingdoms, which has obviously been a very long time. Now let's look at some other units. Let's look at some infantry units and what ones people regret investing into. Not a surprise, I was already hovering over Leonidas. He is definitely one option that people will want to take their sculptures back from because he is only usable with Guan Yu. He really isn't usable with anybody else. So he is definitely an option that people probably like, I really regret investing into him because, you know, I can't even use him because I'm using my Guan with my Scipio, or I'm using Guan with Sargon. So they just really don't have room for Leonidas. Now, another one is Sargon. Sargon is one that I really regret investing into because I spent like 70,000 gems on his wheel thinking he was going to be meta, and he's really just a dueling commander. So he's a commander that I will never use. I don't think I've ever really used him. I think I did one duel with him, but, you know, just really bad commander in my opinion. Another one that people did expertise was CJ. He had so much hype when he came out, and he just was not good. I didn't really think he was going to be that good, but some people were like, oh my gosh, he's going to be so good, but no, he's just not good. One commander that I am definitely thinking about is Pakal. I did max Pakal as kind of a joke. I haven't used him in so long. I mean, even city popping, I'd rather use Luce and Alex than Pakal and Herald. I just think that Luce Alex actually does a little bit better because you get that extra normal attack damage, which in my opinion is better than using a square formation or the hollow square formation. So, I mean, switching up Pakal for me would be a very good idea. However, if I ever run, you know, infantry rallies, having the Pakal Herald would be helpful, but I really just don't use him, and he really is just kind of a waste of a commander, honestly. But he is another option that people will look into. Herald, I am not going to put on this list because Herald with Scipio is a very good march still. I do think that is a great march. Is it going to be a top priority march? No, but if you have Herald, you still could use him with your Scipio. Now, moving on to Cavalry, there are definitely some commanders in here that people invest into that they highly, highly regret. Number one being Genghis Khan. He is a commander that is only good in KVK2, and that is it. Similarly with Saladin. Saladin is somewhat usable in Season of Conquest, but not fantastic. You can get away with using him, but you're just not going to trade that well. And then another commander, this might be kind of an unpopular opinion, but some people still max Belisarius, even though I was like, he's not going to be good unless you're a Mega Whale that's going to be swarming stuff. I mean, people still expertised him. And some people like him, but those people that I know that like him are whales. People that are like, oh my gosh, I wish I listened to you. I wish I hadn't invested into him. They're lower spenders or free-to-play players or even mid-spenders. They just really regret their investment into Belisarius Prime because he really is just kind of a glorified farm killer march that has a ton of march speed and single target damage. Two other commanders, I don't really know if people really invested into them, but Chandragupta and Bertrand, these are two commanders that are just really not good whatsoever. Chandra, you can use him for Barbarian Fort rallies, but I mean, other than that, it's just no. XY, he's another commander that you still could use in Season of Conquest. You see a lot of people with like their 7th march, they're using XY, but by and large, people just really aren't using this commander because he's kind of just nerfed at this point. I mean, if you have Hookabing, you already have what you need from XY. Similarly with Joan, you have what you need from XY. So he really is just kind of on the back burner, probably 3rd or 4th march if you're running full calves. So at that point, you're just really not using him. So if you do have him expertised, he definitely could be a good option. Then obviously you have Attila Takeda. I don't think you really need to, if you have both these expertise, I don't think you need to switch any of them out because that's still a march you can use. Obviously not meta, but still a usable march. Now, finally, looking at leadership, I mean, take your pick on this list. Anything here, if you invest into them, I am so sorry that you wasted your sculptures because they are not good. I mean, obviously, like if you have Hera and you're a garrison, maybe that's one thing. Or if you have Trajan and you're a Mega Whale, that's another thing. But everyone else on this list, if you have expertise them or put sculptures into them, switch them out because they are just not good. For 99% of players, they are just not good commanders. Now, what commanders should you be investing into then when you get to Season of Conquest? Or if you're like, okay, I switched out my Boudica. What should I put these sculptures into? I would say looking at the best commanders in the game, you have like 5 different options. If you don't have these commanders already, if you don't have any of the 5 and you are looking for like one extra commander, these 5 are going to be good options for you. Number 1 is Luce. Luce is the number 1 commander in the game by far. Best open field commander out of any troop type, any commander, he is number 1 without a doubt. Number 2 is Joan Prime. Joan Prime is the number 2 best commander in the game, in my opinion. Best for cavalry, obviously, but number 2 overall. If you don't have Joan Prime, you should absolutely expertise her. She is usable at 5515. You need this 5th skill at 5, but if you can get her at 5515, you have like 80% of her usability, but her expertise is still pretty solid for the open field because, you know, you're dealing more counterattack damage, a little tankier. So her expertise is still worth it in my opinion, but she is a commander that can be run at a budget, but you are going to have to use a ton of skill resets to get this to level 5. Now, number 3, this is kind of where it gets a little funky, but number 3, I'm going to put Herman Prime. There he is. I think Herman Prime is the number 3 commander. The only reason why I'm hesitant here is because Zeuge is number 4. Zeuge and Herman, you can kind of flip them around, but those two commanders, the best options for archers. If you have Zeuge and Herman, you're all set for archers if you're using one pair. So Herman and Zeuge, you can really put them at 3 or 4. I think you can use them interchangeably. I think both are fantastic commanders, and if you don't have either of them expertise, either one is going to be a great pairing for you. I would recommend starting with Zeuge and then going for Herman. That's just my take, but those are 3 and 4. And then number 5, I am going with Hugh Cabing. And the reason why is because he is a better pairing with Joan than Nevsky is. Now, a lot of people argue with me on this. I do think that Hugh is a better pairing than Nevsky because for a lot of players, they're not using 5 marches. And Nevsky, his viability really comes into play when you're using many, many marches. But if you're only using 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 marches, Hugh Cabing is just better. So those are the 5 commanders I think that if you have not expertise them, they are ones that you should be expertising. A couple of extra ones, just in case you have all 5 of those completed, is Scipio Prime, I would say is number 6. I would put Nevsky at number 7. I would put William at number 8. And then honestly, it gets a little interesting from here. I certainly think that you could put Ragnar Prime as number 9. There he is. I think Ragnar Prime at number 9. And then Ashurbanipal at number 10. I think these 5, the number 6 through 10, I think those could all be used interchangeably depending on what you need on the field, depending on what marches you need. Because obviously if you only have gear for 1 archer march, then Ashurbanipal is not going to be a good option because you already have Zeuge and Herman. But if you're going to run 2 archer marches, then obviously Ashurbanipal is going to come into play. You could use him with your YSG. So there's a lot of different options with that. But those 5 commanders, in my opinion, the Luce, the Joan Prime, Herman Prime, Zeuge, and Hugh Cabing are the top 5 commanders that you should be looking into when you are re-rolling or switching around your commander sculptures when we get that in-game in January of 2025. I am interested to see what you guys think down below. So if you have any differing opinions or you want to comment anything down below, I'm excited to see what you guys think. And make sure you are subscribed for more Rise of Kingdoms content. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Have a great rest of your day.